My fiancée canceled our wedding for the 5th time. I just need more time. I said, take all the time you want. Then I blocked her and moved to Bali. She was frantically trying to reach me through friends who finally realized more time really meant never. I, 34M, still remember the exact moment when I realized 6 years of my life had been a complete waste. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and I was sitting in our apartment staring at my phone, reading the same text message over and over again. I'm so sorry, but I don't think I'm ready yet. Can we postpone the wedding? I just need more time. More time. The same excuse I'd heard 4 times before. Our first wedding date was set 3 years ago, and each time we got close, there was always some reason to push it back. First, it was her promotion at work. Then her sister's pregnancy complications. Then her father's minor health scare. Then some vague, feeling not ready excuse. And now, just 2 weeks before wedding number 5, here we were again. I sat there, numb, as memories flashed through my mind. The deposits we'd lost. The explanations to family. The sympathetic looks from friends. The vacation days wasted. And through it all, I had been patient, understanding, and supportive. It's okay, I'd always say. I love you. We'll wait until you're ready. But something snapped in me that day. Maybe it was the casual way she texted it, like canceling dinner plans instead of a wedding. Maybe it was realizing I'd be turning 35 soon with nothing to show for these years but a string of canceled venue bookings. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I opened my laptop and did something I'd been secretly contemplating during our 4th postponement. I checked flights to Bali. I had a decent amount saved up, worked remotely as a software developer, and had always dreamed of living somewhere tropical. Within an hour, I had a one-way ticket booked for the following week. When I finally replied to her text, all I wrote was, take all the time you want. She called immediately, probably sensing something different in my tone. I let it go to voicemail. Then I methodically began my exit plan. Over the next few days, I quietly arranged everything. I told my landlord I wouldn't be renewing our lease. I informed my boss I'd be working from abroad indefinitely. I contacted a storage company for the few possessions I wanted to keep. I withdrew my half of our shared savings account. She kept calling and texting, growing increasingly concerned. I responded with vague reassurances that we'd talk soon. I wasn't ready for the confrontation yet. The night before my flight, I finally agreed to meet at a coffee shop. She looked relieved to see me, though confused by my unusually calm demeanor. So you're not upset about postponing? She asked cautiously. I'm not upset about postponing, I confirmed, which was technically true. I wasn't upset about postponing. I was done with the entire charade. I've been thinking, I continued, about what more time really means. Her expression shifted slightly. She knew me well enough to sense something was coming. We've been together 6 years. Engaged for 4. Postponed 5 weddings. At some point, more time stops being about timing and starts being about not wanting to do it at all. That's not fair, she protested. I do want to marry you. I just need more time. I finished for her. I know, and I've decided to give you all the time in the world. I placed my apartment key on the table between us. I'm leaving tomorrow. I've moved out most of my things already. The lease is paid through the end of the month. Her face went pale. What do you mean, leaving? Where are you going? Somewhere I can start over. I've realized something important. I deserve someone who's excited to marry me, not someone who keeps finding reasons not to. She started crying, insisting she did want to marry me, that she just had cold feet, that this time would be different. It was the same speech I'd heard before, and for the first time, I could see it clearly for what it was, fear of losing me, not desire to be with me. I wish you the best, I said, standing up. But I'm done waiting. I walked out of that coffee shop feeling lighter than I had in years. The next morning, I boarded my flight to Bali. As the plane took off, I turned off my phone, cutting the last tether to my old life. Bali was exactly what I needed. I rented a small villa near the beach, set up my remote office, and started living the life I'd always dreamed about, but had put on hold for someday. I swam in the ocean every morning, made friends with locals and expats, tried new foods, learned to surf, and slowly began to rediscover who I was outside of that relationship. I maintained radio silence with everyone from home except my parents and one close friend. Through them, I heard she was devastated and desperate to talk to me. I asked them not to share my contact information or whereabouts. It might seem cruel, but after years of emotional manipulation, I needed this clean break. About a month into my new life, my friend called to tell me she was contacting everyone we knew, trying to find me. She'd shown up at my parents' house in tears. She'd created elaborate stories about how I was having a mental breakdown or was in danger. She'd even contacted my company's HR department, claiming a family emergency. She's telling everyone you two just had a small disagreement about wedding timing and you overreacted, my friend explained. She's making it sound like you abandoned her over nothing. I wasn't surprised. She'd always been good at rewriting history to make herself the victim. I asked my friend to tell anyone who asked the simple truth. After 5 canceled weddings, I'd finally accepted that more time meant never, and I'd moved on. 3 months passed. I was thriving in Bali, had made new friends, even gone on a few casual dates. My work was going well, and I was the healthiest and happiest I'd been in years. Then one evening, I received an email from her. It was long and emotional, full of apologies and promises. She claimed she'd had an epiphany, that she'd been afraid of commitment because of her parents' divorce, that she'd taken me for granted, that she was ready now, truly ready. She wanted to fly to Bali, to prove how serious she was. I read it twice, surprised by how little it affected me. 6 months ago, this email would have been everything I wanted to hear. Now, it just felt like more of the same, words that would evaporate when it came time for action. I replied with just one sentence. I hope you find what you're looking for, but it's not me anymore. She didn't accept that, of course. The emails continued, growing more desperate. Then packages started arriving at my villa. Gifts, mementos from our relationship, handwritten letters. I donated the gifts and returned the packages unopened. Update 1. For months into my Bali life, I received a call from my best friend back home. She's here, he said without preamble. What do you mean here? I asked, though I already knew. In Bali. She posted on Instagram about fighting for true love with a picture of a Bali sunset. I thought you should know. I thanked him and hung up, feeling a mixture of anger and disbelief. This was a new level of boundary crossing. I immediately contacted the security service for my villa community and changed my routine, working from different cafes instead of my usual spots. 2 days later, it happened. I was leaving a beach club when I heard her voice calling my name. I turned to see her standing there, looking both nervous and triumphant, as if her very presence was an accomplishment. Please, she said, just give me 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I agreed to sit at a nearby outdoor cafe. She looked different, thinner, with dark circles under her eyes. Part of me felt a twinge of sympathy, but a stronger part remembered all the times I'd looked exactly the same after each wedding cancellation. I've been in therapy, she began. I figured out why I kept postponing. I was scared of ending up like my parents. But I'm ready now. I even brought this. She pulled out a small box containing a man's wedding band. I'll marry you right here in Bali. Today if you want. No more waiting. 5 months ago, this dramatic gesture would have seemed romantic. Now it just felt desperate and performative. Do you realize what you're doing? I asked quietly. You flew halfway around the world to a foreign country to track down someone who clearly wanted space from you. That's not love. That's not even respect. But I'm trying to show you how much I care, she protested. No, I corrected her. You're trying to ease your guilt and get what you want on your terms. Again, her face hardened slightly. So that's it. 6 years means nothing to you. It meant everything to me. I replied. That's why I proposed. That's why I planned 5 different weddings. That's why I waited and waited. But at some point, I had to accept that what I wanted wasn't what you wanted. But I do want it now. Now that you can't have it, I pointed out. Now that there are consequences to your actions. She started crying, and for a moment I almost wavered. Then I remembered all the tears I'd shed alone after each cancellation. All the nights I'd lain awake wondering what was wrong with me that made me not quite worth committing to. I think you should go home, I said gently. I've moved on. You should too. You've met someone else, she accused. I shook my head. This isn't about anyone else. It's about me finally respecting myself enough to walk away from someone who couldn't decide if they wanted me. I stood up, left money for my untouched coffee, and walked away. She called after me, but I didn't turn back. Later that night, I blocked her on every platform and changed my phone number. Update 2. A year passed. My life in Bali had become more than just an escape. It was genuinely my home now. I'd started a small side business consulting for digital nomads, made real friends, and even adopted a street dog I named Buddy. I dated casually, but wasn't in a rush for anything serious. For the first time in my adult life, I was completely content being on my own. Through mutual friends, I heard she'd finally moved on too. She was dating someone new, and according to social media, they were already talking about marriage. I wished her well and meant it. Some people need the threat of loss to recognize what they had, and maybe this new relationship would be different for her. Then came the wedding invitation. It arrived via email from a mutual friend with a message saying, she wanted me to make sure you got this. She says there are no hard feelings and she'd love for you to be there. The invitation was for 6 months from now, almost exactly 2 years after what would have been our 5th attempt. I stared at it for a long time, trying to understand what she was thinking. Was this a genuine olive branch? A way to show she'd moved on? Or was it something else? A need to prove she could go through with a wedding, just not with me? I decided it didn't matter. Her motivations weren't my concern anymore. I politely declined the invitation and sent a modest gift from their registry with a sincere note wishing them happiness. 3 days before her wedding, I received a long email from her. She explained that she was getting cold feet again, that she wasn't sure if her fiancé was the one, that maybe she'd rushed into things to prove something to herself. Reading between the lines, it seemed like she was testing the waters to see if I might still be an option. I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded the email to her fiancé with a brief note. I thought you should see this. I received a similar message before each of our 5 canceled weddings. You deserve to make an informed decision about your future. I wish you both well, whatever you decide. It was perhaps not the kindest thing I've ever done, but after experiencing the cycle of hope and disappointment myself, I couldn't in good conscience let someone else walk blindly into the same situation. 2 days later, I heard through our mutual friend that the wedding was off. The fiancé had confronted her about the email, which led to a massive fight and ultimately the revelation that she'd been having similar doubts for months but hadn't voiced them. I felt no satisfaction at the news, just a profound sense of having dodged a bullet, mixed with genuine sympathy for everyone involved. Commitment issues can cause real pain on all sides. Update 3. It's been 3 years since I left for Bali, and my life has transformed in ways I never could have imagined. My consulting business grew into a full-fledged digital agency with a small team. I bought my villa instead of renting. Buddy got a canine sister named Lola. And yes, I met someone, a fellow expat with a similar story of leaving behind a life that wasn't working to build one that did. We've been together for a year now, taking things slowly and intentionally. When I proposed last month, there was no hesitation in her yes. We're planning a small ceremony on the beach next spring, nothing elaborate, just a genuine celebration with the people who matter most to us. Last week, I received another email from my ex. She congratulated me on my engagement and shared that she'd been in intensive therapy for the past 2 years. She'd realized her fear of commitment stemmed from childhood trauma she'd never addressed, and she was finally doing the work to heal. I owe you an apology, she wrote. Not just for the canceled weddings, but for not being honest, with you or myself, about why I couldn't go through with it. You were right to leave. It was the wake-up call I needed. She ended by saying she was dating again, but taking it very slowly, being upfront about her issues from the beginning. She seemed genuinely different, more self-aware and accountable. I wrote back a brief but warm response, thanking her for the apology and wishing her well on her journey. There was no bitterness left, just a quiet appreciation for the lessons we'd both learned. Sometimes I think about how different my life would be if I'd stayed, if I'd agreed to a 6th postponement, a 7th, an 8th. I'd probably still be in that limbo of hope and disappointment, waiting for someone to be ready for a commitment they fundamentally feared. Instead, I'm watching the sunset from my villa in Bali, planning a wedding that both of us are eager for, building a business I love, with 2 dogs snoring at my feet and a partner who didn't need more time to know what she wanted. Walking away was the hardest decision I ever made. It was also, without question, the best one. To anyone stuck in their own version of this story, more time is sometimes exactly what it seems, a gentle way of saying never. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do, for both of you, is to believe what they're showing you, not what they're saying. Take it from someone who finally took his own life back. You deserve someone who's as certain about you as you are about them.